Hey, how we doing, everybody? Welcome in. You are tuned in to The Slate. We are a DraftKings program. We air Monday through Friday on our platforms, wherever you have found us, Twitch, YouTube, the DraftKings handle on both of those respective accounts. And then also we're at DK Nation over on the Twitter machine. Brendan Glasheen, your host today, with Jeff Ulrich, who is doing some last second tweaking because of golf. We gotta love the withdrawals on the Monday night or the Monday afternoon, early evening, as Jeff shakes his head, takes a sip of his drink. He's just so freaking annoyed, but he's excited to talk about some football tonight. We got the Giants and the Cowboys to wrap up week 3 in the NFL. The Giants undefeated at home, hosting Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. Giants are 1-point favorites. Total is moving down because everyone's taking that under. It was at 39.5. It's at 38.5 now. You can get the Cowboys on the money line at -105. It's pretty much a pick 'em here, folks. Giants are -115. We'll dive into the showdown for tonight's game as well. Jeff, you got a thought here to start us off from maybe yesterday, or if your attention fully garners on this game, please. What do you have for us?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I was tilting. Sebastian.
Right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good, right?
I'm good.
Okay, all right.
I'm definitely good. No. I mean, look, I'm just tilting because Sebastian Munoz withdrew from the Sanderson Farms, and I had just finished writing him up. We get that international cup thing kind of momentum going, but apparently Sebastian Munoz doesn't care about winning tournaments on the PGA Tour. Anyways, that's here nor there. My attention for most of this day has been on this game. Okay. I'm kind of excited for this one. I want to see. I really have a feeling, and this could go horribly wrong, but I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit more offense than people think from this game. I think people are really down on it. The Giants have run the ball a lot. It's Cooper Rush, but the Cowboys are getting a little bit healthier. Michael Gallup's still not playing, but they've still got 2 good running backs. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be featured heavily in this game. Really interested in that as well. And I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning over here, but I think my biggest interest here is really in the props and just, taking a look at what we can kind of go through for some of these things on DraftKings. Do you have I like the Saquon props, as I mentioned. I mean, I think over receiving yards is something that, with just where the Giants are at receiver wise, I think there's so many opportunities for Saquon to just get there through for us, just from sheer normal usage, from game flow potentially going in the Giants' direction. We have to throw late, and just from Saquon being Saquon and getting like two catches and taking one of them like 25 yards. So that's something right off the bat I'm pretty interested in. And again, like if you're just tuning in, I mean, Michael Gallup out, so it should help guys like Noah Brown as well. This CeeDee Lamb prop is really interesting too. Earlier in the week, it was really low, sitting around 51.5. I believe it opened around 52, 51.5. So, it's up to 61.5. I probably wouldn't touch it there. It's just too big a gap to go up, but just noteworthy either way. And then, I really think the way this game is going to go is we're going to see a lot of Saquon Barkley. If the Giants can't hold off, the Cowboys offense, then I think you'll still see Saquon Barkley. I just think it'll be through the passing game. So like I said, pretty bullish on Saquon as a receiver here. And, as far as the game goes, I don't know. It's always tough to judge when you've got 2 teams that we don't really know that much about. I mean, the Giants have beaten 2 weaker teams, and the Cowboys are now down to their backup running back and had a nice win last week. I still lean Giants here. I just think this line, not giving them quite enough credit. Their defense has been good. I think that a -1, essentially pick them. I'll take the Giants at home, but it's far from a confident thing when, just because of the lack of weapons that the Giants have in this game.
So some other noteworthy injuries to note: Kadarius Toney on the Giants side is doubtful to play. So that could give Sterling Shepard a lift, could certainly give Saquon a lift, to your point, in the passing game with Daboll, sort of those dump-off plays to move the chains for the Giants in the passing game. Some other things on the other side, you noted Gallup out. Dalton Schultz did travel to New York, the Cowboys tight end. He's going to test the knee before the game, before making a final call. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero says on Twitter, sounds unlikely he will play, but not official yet. And then it sounds like Micah Parsons, who is questionable, he's going to play, and he's calling this his flu game. He's already hyping up week 3 in New York to be his flu game for the Dallas Cowboys, who what do you got?
That's ridiculous. I mean,
okay.
You can't call your flu game your flu game. It's just a flu game. It happens. Other people call that for you. So I'll fade that. But yeah, I mean, the Schultz news is interesting. I think for me, I'd probably look at Tony Pollard's props. I think they'll probably not. I mean, he's not going to play tight end, but you can certainly split him out and run some of the similar routes that Dalton Schultz was running. So, or just use more Tony Pollard routes out of the backfield instead of throwing the middle there. So, yeah, Tony Pollard, 21.5 receiving yards. That's definitely gone up a little bit, but it's still it's not massive. And I mean, you're paying juice to go over 2.5 receptions. So I don't know if I do that. I'd probably just take the 21.5 and go over there. If he does get even just a little extra usage, should get that and getting better odds. So that's probably where I would go. Certainly, without Gallup and Schultz, you could definitely look at Noah Brown as well. He's got 3.5 receptions, but I think it's just, good for the Dallas passing props in terms of where you're looking. You can probably take a shot with an over there on one of those guys.
The Julian Edlow, who works with us at DraftKings, he has the latest splits for the game posted. Most of the money is coming in on the Giants to cover -1, 56% of the money and 57% of the total bets coming in on the Giants. With the total now down to 38.5, more of the handle on the over 38.5 points, and the Giants getting most of the love on the money line. So you're suspecting that with Cooper Rush and I guess Daniel Jones, that you feel like we might have more of an aerial attack, and even with the running backs involved, that could lead to. No, I'm not saying you're saying 50 points, but to lead to more stoppages, and the clock's not going to churn as quickly as we might think.
I mean, yes and no. I think that with my main theory is that we've got mediocre quarterbacks, and mediocre quarterbacks also tend to turn the ball over quick. So, maybe it's some 3 and outs and the other team gets up quick, or maybe there's a defensive score and then the game picks up that way. It is pretty interesting the way the numbers moved. There's more bets on the over, but the numbers moving down, which typically tells you some sharp money might be coming in. I still lean over in this game. I'm just not sold that these defenses are necessarily that good either, but Dallas could prove me wrong here that they just shut down New York altogether. And then New York's the team I'm mainly interested in, see what they do on defense. But again, I mean, there's just so many variables. I mean, the Cowboys have more skill players, but they're starting Cooper Rush. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be successful 2 weeks in a row. So I know one thing Steve Buchanan tweeted out is a lot of people under on Zeke Elliott props. Interesting. I mean, I'm not necessarily advocating for an over, but 77.5. It's pretty big. So I understand why people are leaning there. But again, if we're going under on Zeke Elliott props, shouldn't we be leaning more towards over on the passing props and maybe a bit more of a passing game? I don't know. So that one's a bit perplexing, I guess. I still feel like the safest play here is to look for some Saquon goodness. I mentioned the receiving props, we like that, but even in the player parlays, man, I think it's a good game to take some shots with, what can we find at bigger odds? I know one I found the other day, see if it's still there.
Yeah.
Hybrid parlays. Here we go.
Okay.
Should still be here. Where is it?
Got it up. Barkley and Lamb.
Barkley and CeeDee Lamb. That's exactly what I want.
Okay. 100 plus rush, 100 plus receiving, respectively.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one I want. CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, 100 plus rush for Barkley, and then Lamb as well. And again, those ones correlate, right? If Barkley breaks off some rushes, gets the Giants going, how are the Cowboys going to respond? Probably passing a little bit more. We don't have Schultz to worry about now. Probably don't. Gallup's not a worry. CeeDee Lamb's been getting the targeting, so I've looked at that one early in the week. It's still there. I think that's actually a pretty fair number. And then another one, Cooper Rush, 300 plus pass yards, Saquon Barkley over 100 rush yards. Those correlate to me. I mean, if Barkley's doing it all, then, I mean, Cooper Rush is going to have to be throwing the ball more as well. So, those are the kind of props I'm kind of looking towards for this game. Just to throw it out there, if you want. I mean, obviously DraftKings are offering them, and yeah.
I think the way it's written, the first one makes a lot of sense. Okay, if Barkley's going to run it quite a bit, ball control game for the Giants, well, we would suspect Cowboys are trailing. Let's go to the air, go to the best receiver with no Gallup, Noah Brown, not quite proven, Schultz banged up. Let's go to CeeDee Lamb. This next one, if it was reversed, you'd almost believe it more. It's just the way it's written. Yeah, Cooper Rush is going to throw for 300 yards, and Barkley will get 100. Now, if you read it the other way around, Barkley's going to get there on the ground, and then, the quarterback on the other side is going to have to make up yards in a hurry, and you could get there at the end of the game, even if it's desperation time for the Cowboys in a spot where they have to score anything, a field goal, or even get 6.
I think the one thing we know for sure is that the Giants, and this is why I keep coming back to him, the Giants want to run Saquon Barkley. They ran him against Carolina when they were down. They put the ball in the hands of the most by far, leading rusher. I think you'll also see him be used more as a receiver as the year goes on. The Giants just haven't really been in position necessarily where they had to go to him big time as a receiver, but I think that could transpire in this game. So yeah, I bring those up just because I think Saquon, if you're doing things like that, like looking to go big on Saquon and then coming back with someone on the other side, maybe can give you some value. But I don't know. Honestly, this game is, the Giants just don't have that much to talk about other than Saquon Barkley. And then the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, it's just been a bit of an up and down, obviously, adventure for the Cowboys to start the year. So I could see this one going in numerous different ways on offense, and it's kind of hard to pin down. But the Saquon prop, I think that taking advantage of the Cowboys being down Gallup and now potentially Schultz is definitely something I would look to for to go over on some of those numbers. But look, you can also play under. I mean, the passing props, you don't have to go big here. Under Daniel Jones 204. It's been pretty solid for that so far. I just finished talking about how they want to run the ball with Saquon, right? It doesn't, these are not big props, but we have seen, very low volume from certain offenses. The Giants have been one of them so far. So yeah.
It jumps out to me when you point out the number 204.5 is then you go down. And then this is why I feel like you might be onto something, because then you see the juice on the completions, right? Or even not even that, but the juice on the attempts. There's juice unders there.
It's an insanely low attempt amount. I mean, we're talking this is I'm trying to think of an offense where that it's even comparable, but it's basically we're comparing the Giants to the Bears right now. But that's kind of how some of these offenses have been rolling. Cleveland, a little bit the same. I don't know. I'm not going to touch these props.
Okay.
But it just depends how you're playing the game. If you're looking to go under, I mean, you've got to be taking a look at some of these under passing props. At the same time, if you're kind of on the page with me where maybe this game's going to be a little bit quicker pace, maybe like that Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, then, Daniel Jones at 28.5 pass attempts. I don't know if you'll see a lower number all year. So my theory is a lot of these offenses are going to normalize as we go on. I think this is a spot where the Giants will normalize. I think that, and by that, I just mean they're going to pass a little bit more. They're probably not going to run it 55% of the time. And then, Cooper Rush is just a kind of a mystery. I mean, I could see him throwing for 300 yards. I could see him completely bombing. I could see the Cowboys, just trying to run the ball, maybe getting a small lead or something. So lots of variables there, but yeah, to me, I lean the overs on these. I really do. I think that's where you should be looking for the props. I think these are just a little bit too depressed, and people are also reacting to the Denver game last night. So I do lean over on these. I just wanted to point out how low the passing props were.
Daniel Jones, first 2 games of the season at Tennessee. Of course, they go for 2 to win the game. 17 of 21 attempts in a game. They scored 21 points. You can still get to a team total over for this game.
Yeah. And just
go ahead.
Sorry. And just the last thing about those attempts. So just remember who they were playing the first 2 weeks. It's Carolina and Tennessee, 2 other really slow, it's just the perfect matchups for just having really low output on passing, on everything, on time of possession. So I think, again, you'll see the Giants play a little bit faster and probably Jones to go over this number more often than not the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and for the Giants, say what you want about. I think Dallas has had a tough first two games. They've been at home, granted. Bucks, Cincinnati, and their quarterback, of course, got hurt. But you look at these first two here for Daniel Jones. Passing yards, Tennessee, 188. Carolina, 176. Now we're asking him to get 25 to 30 more in this game against the Giants. But however, or against the Cowboys, this might be their toughest test defensively. And in Tennessee and Carolina, they've got some pieces on those defenses, but this might be his biggest challenge yet as it pertains to star player and Parsons on the other side. This might be the toughest challenge yet for Daniel Jones. And we're getting 204.5 passing yards in a game, and he hasn't hit 200 yet this season. You're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I know it's definitely going against like the trends here, but I think that part of what's happened with the Giants, like these numbers for Jones have come down, and I think the other thing about the Cowboys is they're just like the Titans and the Panthers. I mean, they're just what they do on offense. I think that they're just going to be teams that just drag down the opposing offenses as well. I think the Cowboys have a little bit more weapons. They'll move the ball a little bit better, even with Cooper Rush. I am placing a little bit of trust here in Cooper Rush to be able to do that, because if he doesn't, then this will turn into like a 14-10 game really quick. But I got that feeling, I got to say, like, I think that it's a bit of an overreaction on a lot of these props and on the total. And I think that, with Saquon not being able to do things for the Giants and the Cowboys still having CeeDee Lamb and Zeke and Pollard, I think you're going to see some not fireworks, but some offense, much to the like that we saw that against the Steelers and Browns in what was a big division matchup on Thursday. I think it's going to be similar to that.
This is our first for both teams, Giants, Cowboys, for each of these teams, their first in division matchup. And I think that is a reflection of the total. And just historically, when these two teams meet, they always seem to meet on Monday night or Thursday night. And it's always a bleep show. It feels like.
It's always like you don't really know what to expect. That's why.
I'm playing up the trend, which you just made points as to why you shouldn't. Yes,
which is why I don't mind going a little bit against the trend. Like, I mean, I think it's Dallas, New York. It's always a little bit weird, and the division stuff. I mean, again, like you see a lot of these division matchups. You'll just get weird shootouts between Atlanta and New Orleans. Always some weird games where it's just weird stuff happens. The Cleveland-Pittsburgh game was kind of similar Thursday, like I mentioned. So, yeah, I'm going to play this a little bit untraditionally, but that's just the way we're looking at it here.
Is there correlation? So I would presume, based on your commentary to this point, that you are a big fan of Saquon as a captain in his showdown?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like it's no surprise. And that's the one spot where, like, again, you're playing against the field for DFS. Everybody knows that like Saquon is going to get the usage. He's the leading rusher. Everybody knows that. So, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to go against him. Like, I mean, again, you can just put Saquon in there. The usage is going to be there. If he does take off as a receiver or something, you're going to be just fine. I think CeeDee Lamb is a fine pivot as well. And then I think that the real contrarian move here would be probably to go Zeke as a captain for the Cowboys. Again, how is this game going to go? If the Cowboys get ahead, what's going to happen? They're going to run. And the weakest part of the Giants' rush has been their rush defense, allowing big game to McCaffrey last week. So, like, Elliott isn't a player that I want to put all my faith in, but as a lower owned captain, that is where I would go, because I think there's definitely a fairly like clear path to him getting big carries, to getting in the end zone, maybe even twice, and being the leading scorer in like a 17-14 Dallas win or something, or a 17-10 Dallas win. So I think Zeke is actually a pretty viable captain, and that's where I would go for like a lower owned play. But Barkley's got to beat, like, he's the highest projected play to me, and he can just go off in so many different scenarios. Even if Zeke has a big game, maybe Barkley puts up like 100 yards receiving. Like that is a scenario that can happen too. So
pretty mind-boggling that. And granted, it's juice to -130, but the first prop you named today, 23.5 receiving yards. That's very enticing. And you're getting 7 and then 4 targets.
5 targets each of the first 2 games. And like I said, those have been slower paced games. Like the Giants kind of just like hanging on to leads late. I mean, they needed to push it a little bit against Tennessee, but like that game was close. There was never really like a back and forth where the Giants got the ball a bunch and we're dumping it off to Saquon. It was just 5 targets in both games with regular game flow. So I feel very safe in saying like Saquon's going to get 5 targets tonight. Probably like his floor is 3.5, 4. So even on 3 targets, I mean, he could go over that. I think it's a low one. And I like that one. I actually like, I think Saquon gets it. I think you're going to see a big passing or receiving game from Saquon. That's just, again, how I think this one could break out.
Okay. What about, you've mentioned Noah Brown a few times. Is he a look at 6,800 or is that a tad pricey?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's got to be now with Schultz and Gallup. Well, Schultz questionable, Gallup's out, right? Like I'm pretty
well. Gallup
expected to be inactive. Hasn't been officially ruled out, but expected to be inactive. So Noah Brown gets another bump. I think the other thing this does is we've got to watch the inactive list because Simi Fioka has 3 targets week 1, didn't do anything week 2. I'm not even sure if it was active week 2. I can't remember. Jalen Tolbert, was inactive against the Bengals. So 2 inactives in a row, but could he get activated tonight? That's something to look for. He's only $1,000. So you really need to watch those 2 players and just check who's inactive because Gallup's out. Schultz sounds very questionable all of a sudden. One of those guys, if they catch 1 pass for 40 yards, like that's massive for DFS. So watch the inactive reports there. But yeah, Noah Brown, definitely a play now. If you're going like CeeDee Lamb captain, maybe with like a rush, you could throw Noah Brown in there for a 3-man stack and then come back with like Barkley on the other side or something. So,
okay. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's what it would look like right here. You're throwing some cheap guys in there to round out the order if you went to a build like this. And then I don't know. In my last question on DFS, I don't know much about Ferguson here, the tight end for the Cowboys,
right?
Who I guess would be the fill-in for Schultz. He's very cheap. He's $200.
Yeah. I don't know. It look like we don't have any other options. So I think people will definitely be looking to play like the Dallas backup, which honestly,
we probably called this guy in a Madden sim, but I don't remember now. It's forever ago.
No, I mean, it's fine. Like, I mean, obviously we'd like some more confirmation, but if we don't get like a Tolbert activation or something like that, you've got to figure like Ferguson probably going to pick up a couple targets here.
Yeah.
So I think I said this already, but I think if Schultz does not play, Ferguson absolutely as a min-price punt at 200. Yeah, he's in play. But I think the guy it helps the most is Tony Pollard. I think that they'll just have him on the field a little bit more. I think they'll look to use those routes a little bit more. But he is, I mean, we're talking like a big price difference here. Like from Tony Pollard, you can't just get like 1 extra catch for 5 yards and be like, oh, I'm happy with that. Like you have to have him smash at 8,200. So Josh Ferguson at 200, like he lets you do everything else. He lets you get Zeke, the quarterbacks in together and all that stuff. So yeah, Ferguson is in play. I mean, absolutely. Like we need to watch the news. And if Schultz is out, then gonna make captaining Barkley even easier for people. So again, it's just going to up the rate of Barkley captains.
Ferguson had a target last week against Cincinnati, but keep an eye too. This fella named Sean McKeon, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry, Sean. He was elevated from the practice squad for this game specifically. So insurance or reinforcements are there if Schultz can't give it a go. You want to start thinking about this coming week, or do you have any other final thoughts on Dallas? And
no, look, there's like no one to talk about on the Giants except Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's like Sterling Shepard's props are, what they are. I don't know. Richie James, do we really want to project him for like 4 catches? Probably go under on that, but I don't have anything else about this game. I've talked way too much about the Giants. Like I said, so far they're a pretty boring team because it's just Saquon and nothing else.
But you like them. You like them tonight.
I do because I think Saquon's going to have a big game. I think he's going to be able to do it, but
okay.
It's still the Giants. I mean,
what's catching your eye for this coming week? We've got Cincinnati, Miami. Bengals are home. That's Thursday night. Line is moving as we speak. It was at 4 just before we went live. It was at 3. That was the opening line. And then opening line for the week, that is. went to 4, back to 3.5. You got Viking Saints from London. And and then, Mac Jones, Patriots, that's a concern. But that line looks like a Brian Hoyer line, plus 10.5. And Rams Niners is next Monday. So just throwing out some games. If there's another one you like, what do you got?
Yeah, the Cincy Miami one is really interesting. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not really even sure what's going on with Tua right now. I know he had an ankle injury, and then the news is, like, I don't think he's in concussion protocol. So, I think that the number is obviously moving on this, but
Tua not in concussion protocol per Mike McDaniel. That was today.
Yeah. So,
and his ankle is sore from all of his inter-trench warfare, says the coach.
This line to me, it feels like a trap. It feels like the sports books wants you to get on Miami.
Agreed.
And I will gladly let people do that. And then when
agree.
the line goes to 3 or even 2.5, I will jump on the Bengals. I think that 1,000%. The Bengals came out. They did what they needed to do against the Jets. Got a little dicey there at the end, but not that dicey. I think that the Bengals are going to win this game. And I'm happy to jump on it. I think Joe Burrow is pissed at the way he started the season. I think he had that appendectomy. I think that hurt his preparation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just the Bengals had a bit of a Super Bowl slump. Their O-line's getting it together. It's a tough spot for Miami. You play the Bills, you get thumped up like that. We used to see it, teams playing like the Seahawks and like good teams like that back in the day. Then the next week, terrible against the spread. I think it's the same thing for the Dolphins here.
I agree.
Really tough spot. You got the Bengals coming in off like pretty easy win. I think the Bengals are the play here. Absolutely. So I'm going to be looking to that, but I'm not going to do it at 3.5. Like I said, I think this moves to 3. So, and if not, I'll just buy it down potentially. So, or maybe play the money line and something, or some kind of Bengals teaser. I think that's actually a good play too. Get the Bengals at plus 3.5.
You want the public to jump on the number at 4, 3.5, and then like you said, 2.5 would be ideal. But that was a gauntlet of a game. If Buffalo smokes Miami and they're pulling guys out of that game early, then you're like, okay, like maybe Dolphins come in motivated. They rested guys because it was a lopsided. Not the case. That was a fight. That was a war in the hot weather. Short rest, I completely agree. And for the Bengals, like you said, got a little dicey at the end, but they pretty much waltzed in that game. Like they're coming in ready to go. Joe Burrow won't be able to hear any of you on Twitter because he shut it off for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you on this game.
Yeah, so we'll see how this one breaks down. 3.5, obviously that number.
Yeah, you want to wait.
Lots of news to digest, just like me.
You want to wait.
My digesting, but let's move forward. Trying to think who else sticks out here.
Speaking of the Bills, you willing to bet Buffalo -4 on the road? Ravens getting points at home with Lamar?
Yeah, no, I'll take the Bills there. It's funny. I'll take the Bills. So yeah, I just remembered about the Bills have some injury issues.
They sure do. Like secondary,
the Ravens secondary, they just gave up like 150 yards to Devontae Parker. Like Lamar Jackson against the Bills defense, even without Micah Hyde. I don't think it's gonna. I think that we're gonna get a little slowdown here from Lamar this week. I think that's my prediction. The Bills need to be a little bit like more careful. Like they look explosive and they are explosive on both sides of the ball, but they're just bad at like finishing stuff. Like they're really bad in like 1-score games. Josh Allen, turnovers, missed field goals, stuff like that.
Since 2020, Buffalo now in 1-score games, 0-7. The only team that has a worse record than them in that spot, the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
So they can kill you. See Rams, see Tennessee, but when it's close, they are not. Their running game, they can't finish the game. Singletary had a great day. DFS, fantasy, you have him on your team, great. Targets and PPR, all good. I get it, but their run game is Josh Allen and Josh Allen only. And when you try to close a game out, it's not working. They have not. McDermott has not done a good enough job installing that. So
all that said, I think the Bills know that. I think they're probably hearing that stat themselves. And I think that gets rectified this week. I just don't think these teams are equal.
Keep an eye on this too.
I just mentioned
Allen
the Ravens
Lamar.
issues. Yeah. So
keep an eye on that. If Jackson somehow beats Josh Allen, Allen.
And a good way to hedge this game, if you're going to bet the Bills, dabble a little bit on Lamar MVP. It's a really good point. I actually think Lamar's MVP odds are super interesting because I don't think he should be fourth favorite right now or third favorite with Mahomes. I think he should probably be up there with Hurts. So, yeah, you get a little action on Lamar. Even if he loses this game and he puts up a good effort, he's still maybe throws for 300 yards in a losing effort or something. So, But yeah, I like the Bills. Maybe we'll even get 3.5. It wouldn't shock me. So actually the juice is already flowing to the Ravens side. I just think it's a mistake to trust the Ravens. Yeah. Again, like they got saved by Lamar Jackson, but the Lamar Jackson was playing the Patriots defense, which unfortunately, guys, it's not good this year. So, keep that in mind.
Maybe if the Patriots had won yesterday, maybe you get a better number with Baltimore. You maybe get 5.
Oh, sure. If the Patriots had won, this would be 6 probably. But the Patriots didn't win. They didn't really come that close to winning. It was a 2-score game in the end, right? It was close for a while, but
yeah, but it's honestly, you're right. It was one of the more, and someone said this to me, and it's so true. It was one of the more boring, high-scoring games I've ever watched. It's the over smashed the game total, but it was just like,
you never really thought that the game was never really on the line at the end. It was close for a while, but a team would score, the other team would kind of score.
Yep.
You're right. I watched it. We rewatched the game last night, mainly because I wanted to see how Parker got all his yards. But, and again, if Parker's going to do that, what the hell is Steph Diggs going to do? So yeah, I got worries here for the Ravens secondary, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how the quarterback battle goes.
It's just my way to tee you up to crap on the Ravens some more. So
absolutely. Lamar could just empty my bankroll if he just keeps playing like that. But I'm going to be betting against the Ravens continuing going forward. So let's see here. You know who I actually like the Jets this week. I kind of like the way the Jets are playing. I'm not going to lie. I know they were kind of trashy last week, but I think that the Bengals really came in super prepared, and it was just a tough matchup for them to get behind. They're not going to get behind against the Steelers, and I think that their wide receivers can really go off against that secondary. So,
I need Joe Flacco numbers against Pittsburgh in his career. That's what I need right now. Give me a second.
Well, and look, much like we saw with Russell Wilson last night, just being familiar with an opponent. I'm not saying Russell Wilson did wonders last night, but he got the plays when he needed to, and that's kind of what you'd be looking for Flacco here. So looks like the money might be flowing in on the Jets. So we'll see. It's not something I'm going to go out of my way to bet. It's the New York Jets after all, but just throwing that out there. The Steelers are woof.
Yeah, but it's Tomlin off a loss, more than a week rest.
Here's one we agree on.
I don't love it, but
here's one we agree on. Well, maybe there's 2 we agree on. I love the Broncos this week. What's your thoughts?
You love the Broncos this week? Did you watch last night?
Yeah, I did. They won. They beat a good team.
Basically, what happened last night, if you didn't watch, there were 17 punts in the game. But what was encouraging, Russell Wilson put the game in his own hands. Say what you want about the guy. He's corny. He's annoying. Russ said, Hackett, I'm going to do what I do and put the team on my back and go win us the game. And we'll figure out the playbook for the Raiders next week. And they sort of he did Russ stuff. He ran. He scanned the field. A receiver came back to the ball. The magic of Russell Wilson was found in that final drive.
Yeah.
And Josh McDaniels might not be made for head coaching.
And look, Nathaniel Hackett may not be either, but
that too.
The Broncos are the Broncos are a good team. They have great running backs. They run the ball effectively. Their O-line needs a little bit of work, but they definitely run the ball well. Javonte Williams is a stud. Cortland Sutton is starting to really emerge.
He's been good all year. If you have him in fantasy, you've been okay with it. Targets. You've been fine.
And they started to move him around more last week. And it really translated to this week. Like he was their only chain mover. They need Jerry Jeudy. If Jerry Jeudy can get going, I think this offense will be good enough to potentially give them a shot at doing something. I'm not putting the Broncos with like the Bills, just to clarify. Okay. I'm just saying they're a good team and they're better than the Raiders. So I think that this line is actually an overreaction to last night. Okay. Like, I mean, like what have the Raiders done to deserve to be favorites?
They were favorites yesterday.
I know.
And even about the Titans, I mean, that to me was an overreaction. Like Tennessee,
and again, but
tough team.
Yeah, we saw Tennessee get smoked. The Denver won last week, but like everyone is treating the Denver win as a loss. Like, so
yeah,
that's why this line is moving. Oh yeah, like the Raiders at home, they're gonna, Devontae, like the Broncos have a very good defense. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is Jimmy Garoppolo, but like Kyle Shanahan moves the ball. Like he can move the ball against anyone. They couldn't do it yesterday. So again, it's an ugly game, but it's an ugly game between two good defenses is something different than just an ugly game between two teams that stink.
Fair enough.
That's my opinion.
I guess when you ask me if I like it, I would just stay away from the game because I just don't know.
Fair enough.
Coaches.
I like the Broncos. I think they're getting undervalued. Let's get it up to 3. I mean, hopefully that'd be awesome. Okay. And then the other game that I know we're on is the Cardinals.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, folks, Matt Rule is a home favorite. That might be, or just a favorite in general. Yeah. That might be the last time for a while this guy is a favorite.
It's a rare coaching matchup where I'll take Cliff Kingsbury over the other coach, but I will take Cliff Kingsbury. I just play the Cardinals money line here. Yeah, Kyler Murray on one side of the ball. I think Marquise Brown can get open against these
awful
corners. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I wanted to find.
Yeah, I'll take Kyler with plus money on the money line here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just. Cliff Kingsbury is also pretty good on the road against the spread in his career. Home, he's not. 18-7-2 ATS on the road as a head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. So
good stat.
Yeah. And look, also like Cardinals, and we got like a minute here. Cardinals were not that bad against the Rams yesterday. They hung in there against a good Rams team.
Yeah. I mean, they're just overmatched. Like again, the Cardinals aren't good, but they have Kyler at quarterback. I think him and Marquise Brown are getting going a bit. The Panthers are not getting going at all. Like they're just like surviving out there. I mean, they needed a fumble return like from their defense. They got a couple passes from Baker like late in the game, but I mean, like DJ Moore's not doing anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the Cardinals will blitz Baker. If I remember correctly, the Cardinals have a high blitz rate, which Baker just stinks against the blitz. So yeah, this one, all signs point to Cardinals.
DJ Moore, 1 catch on 6 targets. You had the Chenault big play in the second half.
I predicted this. DJ Moore, unfortunately, he's getting the Odell Beckham treatment. Baker Mayfield, for whatever reason, cannot coexist with like a true wide receiver 1. Yep. He's proven it like 3 times now in his career. So
yeah, this reeks of folks putting on Red Zone and seeing Carolina. Oh, look, Carolina 13-0 on the Saints. Look at them go. And then you look at Baker's numbers and go, wait, how?
Yeah.
I would lean Cardinals very much so in this spot. Okay, we have to go. It is past 6:00. Everyone, good luck with your line. We had a good breakdown here today, Jeff. Good breakdown of this game. I'm looking forward to it now even more. Giants, Cowboys tonight to wrap up week 3. The Sweat is back tomorrow starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then we'll have the Slate once again here on our DraftKings channels, Twitch, YouTube, and on the DK Nation Twitter. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, thanks to Andrew and Eamon behind the scenes. We'll see you again next time. Have a good night.